The last time we were here, we asked the question to start the session. And that question was, what's the purpose of communication? And we came up with all kinds of answers. You guys told me things like, well, the purpose of communication is so I can make a difference. Or I communicate so that if I communicate, I can get what I need. Or by communicating, I can have impact. I can change the world. I can impact my patients. I can impact my fellow staff members. Some of you said things like, well, I communicate to get love. Some of you said, I communicate to give love. Some of you said things like, well, gosh, I guess I communicate because I have to survive. What are some of the other reasons? If you weren't here last time, let's take some examples. What are some of the other reasons we communicate? You guys tell me. To be happy, which is one of the things we moved in the direction of, absolutely. Why else do we communicate? Pardon me? To express opinions, good. Why else do we communicate? To feel better. In fact, when we went through this whole list of things, if you recall, we said that we communicate for three primary reasons. Let's do a quick review. First reason we communicate, I don't care what it is, whether you're communicating to have impact, make a difference, make more money, survive, whatever the case may be, you're doing it for three reasons. One, you're communicating because by communicating something, it makes you feel good. Or it makes when we communicate, when we have negative feelings, or want to at least, is we think that by communicating, we will feel what? Better. That's the bottom line. And what's the third reason we communicate? And a major reason why you communicate often in the practice, to create a new result. Right, we want to create a new result. What we're doing right now is not good enough. Or it's good, but we want to go to the next level. And so the purpose of the communication is we want to take whatever's happening and make it better. We want to create a new result. But I have which is to what? Feel good. That's it. It's a reason. Now, is it important to remember why you're communicating when you're in the midst of an argument? Like in the middle of an argument, you're going back and forth. Would it be useful to say, what's the purpose of communication? To feel good, and then ask yourself, is this working? Would that change your state a little bit? Yes or no? Yes or no? And you better believe it. So what we want to do is remind ourselves what the purpose is, and that's to feel good. Now here's the challenge. It's to feel good, but also, is it possible for you to communicate in a way that makes you feel good and other people feel bad? How many have ever experienced this? Okay, so how can that happen? Give me an example. How could you be in a position where, you understood this process? The commitment of the process is to produce a result in a quality environment in a way that makes people feel good long term. The whole purpose, smallest part of communication. Do you remember what percentage of communication, when two people meet, what percentage do words play in actually influencing how that person feels? 7%. When two people meet and they're face to face and they're communicating and they're trying to convince or persuade or influence another person to do something or feel a certain way, words play the smallest part. What plays the bigger part? Voice plays the next biggest part. Voice qualities, your tonality, your tempo, all of that plays a much bigger role than just what you say. And that represents 38% of what influences people. Now, when you're stressed, does it come through in your voice, yes or no? Yeah, you better believe it does. And people pick that up. They don't even know what's going on. All they know is they don't like it and they want to be around it. Okay, so it's not so much what you say as it is what? How you say it. And then thirdly, what's really critical for us is the way we use our physiology. Our posture, our gestures, our facial expressions, all that communicates much more than our voice or our words. It represents 55% of human influence. So when we are... really the 5 elements of reality bridging. The reality bridge technology. It'll give you the overview of everything you need to do to master communication and really produce the kind of results that you want in your life. Now, and at the top of your notes under reality bridging, write down one key phrase you'll want to remember. We've talked about it before, but make sure you remind yourself. And that is, write down, the quality of my life is the quality of my communication. The quality of my life is the quality of my communication. Yourself. So for example, if you find yourself overeating or drinking or smoking or doing something you know isn't really great, and you're still not successful in changing it, what you're really saying is, I have not learned to communicate to myself in a way to really change my behavior. How many follow me on this? Okay, we've got to change the way we're communicating to ourselves in order to change the way we feel. If you're not as happy as you want to be, it is not to do with the events. It has to do with how you're communicating to yourself. Okay? How many have seen people who have every reason to be happy who are unhappy because of the way they communicate with themselves? How many have been that person at one time in your life? Okay? So changing, we've all been sold a bill of goods that says someday, somehow, someone, something, some amount of money, some person, and then I'll be happy. And it's a bill of goods. It's not true. And when people get all those things and they're happy from anywhere from 5 seconds to 15 years, and all of a sudden they're back to the same place again. Things won't make you happy. You make yourself happy by what you choose to focus on and how you communicate to yourself, the questions you ask yourself. So we got to master communication within ourselves. If we want to succeed in the outside world, if we want to have an impact, if we want to be able to help people, if we want to be able to change people, then we've got to be able to learn how to persuade, how to influence, how to communicate externally. If we want to be able to have somebody fall in love with us, we have a great relationship. If we want to make money, we've got to be good external communicators. So the quality of our life is the quality of our communication. So if we want to master communication, there are really 5 steps to having quality communication, therefore a quality life. And the 5 steps start with step number 1. And step number 1 is decide to become a master communicator. You've got to make a decision to become a master communicator. To master communication, to become a master of meaning is another way of looking at it. You got to decide. Now remember, we talked about communication with yourself so that if all heck breaks loose, somewhere out of that you find a meaning that empowers you. Let's say, for example, somebody really does something that in the short term hurts your feelings. They do something really harsh with you. How could you take somebody being harsh with you, like raising their voice and getting intense with you, and change the meaning? For you to feel upset, the meaning has to be something where you feel lost, like they don't care about you as much, or they're being disrespectful, and that loss turns into hurt and then maybe even anger. What would be a better meaning than they're upset with me or they're treating me harshly? What might be a better thing to think about in that frame? What would you think? That's right, they're crying for help. Right now, for them to be angry and tense, it's not about me. But the meaning of this is this person really is stressed. They really need some help. And I don't appreciate the way they did it with me, but I know they care about me, so let me come back here and try and change their state. Or let me break their pattern, which is what we're going to do, is show you some ways to break pattern right before we go to lunch here. Okay? How many follow me on this? Okay? So let's say you set a goal to achieve something. You've got your heart and soul set on it, and then for some reason something intercedes. Something occurs. A hurricane comes to your little town, and it affects the patient flow that week. Okay? If something like that happens, are you going to be devastated? Well, you could be. If you want to call it the word devastated, instead of using transformational vocabulary, if you remember from the first session, instead of saying, well, I'm a little disappointed. Right? And what does it mean? Well, it may mean, oh my gosh, I lost my business, lost the income, or we didn't reach these people. Or it could mean, hey, this is a chance for us to really look at what's most important in our lives. In your offices and in your life, if you're a master communicator, then you got to make sure that you commit to the vitality track and not the cancer track. Do you remember what the difference was between those two? I'll give you a little reminder here. The cancer track is what most people do who destroy their relationships, their businesses, and their personal life. And what it is, when we have an expectation and it doesn't get met, what kind of state do we usually go into? Depressed, what else? Frustrated, angry, disappointed, disillusioned, what else? Hurt. Okay, and we go into the basically emotional states that we've got patterns of going into. Most people have a disillusioned state or hurt or angry. What's the first thing most people do? As soon as they got an upset, they immediately look for somebody to lay blame on. True or false? True. And does that usually make it better, yes or no? Does that build a better team? Does that create a quality environment with quality communication and quality results, yes or no? No way. And by the way, people don't just blame, like, let's say, the doctor or their staff members. Most people do blame others, but some people just blame themselves. Does blaming yourself motivate you to really become better? Rarely. And some people don't blame themselves, they blame circumstances. Well, it's not my fault, it's because this and this and that. The truth of the matter is we can always find a reason why something isn't working. But the bottom line is we have to be responsible for the results. Now, what do some people do? They go, okay, well, now that I'm done laying blame, that's not enough. I'm angry, and I need to make sure I feel justified, so they go to step 2. They justify and complain to other people. Go out there and subgroup. We talked about this before. Now, how many have seen this happen in your office amongst anybody in the last 60 days? Let's see some honest hands. How does it feel, again, when somebody, let's say, talks behind your back? When somebody subgroups, and 2 people get together and say, oh, so-and-so's there. How does that feel to you? Yeah. If you keep doing that, what's going to be the ultimate impact on your relationships? It's going to destroy them. It's going to screw them up royally. You've got to stay out of that place and promise yourself and commit not to subgroup. That if you've got an upset, who should you handle that upset with? That person directly. Third thing people do is after they get enough people, and they all say, yeah, I'm upset too. By the way, what are your chances of finding somebody else who's upset? Somebody else whose expectations are not been met. What's the chances of finding somebody like that? About 100%, right? It's called life. Then what happens? You get these people together and you sit down and resent and brew, right? And get worse and worse and more angry until finally what somebody does is usually confront somebody. And they say, look, I was honest, and they didn't respond. Confronting is not the style we want to use. And lastly, what most people do is after they confront is they give up and seek revenge. We don't want to do that. We want instead, as master communicators, to go for the alternative we talked about last time, which is the vitality track, which is where you get excited and appreciate the feelings that you're having. Where immediately you say, okay, I got these feelings, they're intense, I feel angry or upset. That's exciting. I need to appreciate the fact that my brain is telling me that I need to change something. Because we all found out last time, negative emotions are a signal. They're a call to what? Do you remember? Action. If you got negative emotions, something's hurting. What it's saying to you is you need to change either the way you're looking at this, your perception, or you got to change your actions. The way you're doing it, the way you're communicating, the way you're making requests. So if you're feeling negative feelings, you don't want to feel bad about it. You want to say, okay, this is great. This is my brain trying to give me a note. I need to get curious about what is it that I really need right now. And I need to think of what else could this situation mean. I'm really upset about it, but what else could it mean? Maybe the doctor raising his voice to me, or her voice to me, isn't they don't care about me. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe I ought to see if I can support that person. Maybe I need to soften the way I'm feeling about this and not say I'm devastated, but say, you know, I'm a little frustrated with the way they're treating me. Maybe I need to go and communicate as soon as possible to that person that, you know, I know they have good intent, and I'd really appreciate it if they changed their style of communicating with me because it just doesn't feel good, and I want to support them. And if I do that enough, and I focus on meeting this person's needs, I'm going to probably meet my needs. So as a master, would that change them? So that is a definite thing that would work. Microphone closer if you say anything, and use it, whatever else you want to do. Go ahead and change it. You back in the stuck state? Good, he's back because he's not responding to me. That was the right answer.
Do you need my help? Is there anything I can do to support you?
Try something else. Your job is keep this person going. Try something else. But that isn't working. Try something else. Come on.
Do you need to
Did that work, yes or no? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. He changed his breathing and his face very slightly. Okay, it wasn't exciting, but it did affect him. It did break him. Now, it wasn't as strong as it could be. Let me offer you a principle that may be very useful. Listen carefully. The threat of an attack is even greater than attack itself. Maybe you can use that principle, Sparky. Go for it.
The threat of an attack?
Go for it, Sparky. Come on, something else. Try something, quick. And by the way, Sparky doesn't, how many would agree Sparky doesn't know what to do? Sparky is in what kind of state? Stuck. Okay, Sparky, come on, you can do it, babe.
David.
Did it work, yes or no?
It's not ticklish.
Well, that began to change him. She got one that works? Give her a hand. Good job. Give her a hand. She's stuck. She's starting to do the same thing. Try something he doesn't expect. Did that work? Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Good job. Stay there. Try something else. Back on stuck state. Try something else.
Is that what we need to remove your clothes? Loosen you up a little bit? Undress him? Yeah.
Quick, try something else. Try something else. Ask him. Say, is that a booger in your nose? Did it work? Yes or no? Be gross. Do something you don't need to go, excuse me, but is that a booger in your nose? It'll change your state in a heartbeat, trust me. One more time, stuck state.
I know something that'll make you look good. Let's try this. No, not this one. Let's try this one. This might change your state.
Was he pretty good at staying stuck on that one? He's really concentrating. What kinds of things have worked so far for her? What kinds of things have worked? Physical movement, being gross, what else? Touching, okay? What else? Try something else. Come on, come on, come on. Do something you would never do. Do something you would never do. The threat of an attack. Did it work? One more, one more.